So, welcome back everyone to WealthLab Strategy Trading, episode 4, where we cover the live trades that I'm making in my account. We mirror those trades in an Alpaca paper account. We are showing the strategies that I'm actually trading, all combined into one meta strategy. So, how are things going at your end, guys, this week?
It's been a tough week for me. Lots of drawdown.
Hmm.
Well, not a lot, but I mean, relatively speaking. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's
the
I got in
markets.
a couple really. I mean, the Nasdaq 100's had some dip buys that are pretty painful this week. Axon, Palantir. I had TTD last week,
Hmm.
the trade desk last week. So I'm getting smashed. Those aren't pop. Most of those aren't popping back up. So they're
Yeah.
tough trades.
Well, our one of the strategies we use in our meta strategy is into Palantir, definitely. So that's this. Let's go to our deterministic knife juggler strategy, and let's take a run through this one. So this one's configured to have it at most 6 open positions. So it's a dip buyer, which basically places a limit order for each stock every day, trying to catch those dips and then sell when the stock comes back up. This particular one keeps a maximum of 6 open positions. And let me give this a run here. Let's take a look at our signals. So we have a number of signals here. We have 7 sell signals and 3 buy signals. One of these sell signals is NSF. That means it's actually, theoretically, it would have taken that order, but there wasn't enough capital for the strategy to take it. So we do see Palantir here as one of the trades that happen to get in here. So this strategy is holding Palantir, so we'll see what happens with that. But wanted to talk about a question someone asked about this, because now this strategy is holding the 6 positions that is so it's at its maximum, and we now have 3 buy signals. So how do I manage that in live trading? So what I do is I can see that this deterministic knife juggler already has 6 open positions, and yet there's 3 buys. So what I do is today I actually ran this in the strategy monitor. So if I open up the strategy monitor, and let's run a version of this that has a fixed position size, or actually we can change the position size in the strategy monitor. So I think I can just drag this in here. Let's go to our position size. Yeah, so the position size for our Alpaca account for this particular strategy would be 10,000 per trade, because that's 5% of the 200,000 starting capital that we have. So I put this in here with the fixed position size. I have it set with the max open positions to 6, and then I check this option here, enforce max open positions from the position size. So what this will do is check the positions in the associated account here, the Alpaca account, and if it sees that it has the 6 open positions that I defined here in the position size setting, then it won't allow that order to complete. So let's see how that would work, because we need to send these signals to the quotes tool, so the quotes tool can monitor the positions throughout the day and then place any orders that would have happened. So what I'm going to do is select the data set, the NASDAQ 100 that this is trading on, click OK. So now it's in the strategy monitor. So now I could just run it. So this will run the strategy, produce our signals here. So it's the same signals we saw before. So I can now take these three buys and send them to the quotes window. And I can configure it to auto place into the Alpaca account. So now if I turn on streaming, so we have two that triggered already. So since auto place is turned on, those would get sent to the order manager. So here they are in the order manager, these two buys, but notice that there's an error status. And the error is, we can hover over here, the transaction is not placed because it would exceed the strategy monitor's enforced maximum open position. So this morning, this is what I did. I set this up, ran it in the strategy monitor, sent the signals to the quotes tool, configured it like this, and went to Starbucks. And then when I came home, I saw that those signals did get hit, but they weren't submitted because of this threshold. And that's how I manage it. So throughout the day, I can observe the open positions and see if any of them wind up selling, which is unlikely, I guess. But if they do, then I can go in and, maybe submit one of these if the current price is still below the limit. So yeah, that's how I manage that situation.
So in the case that one of the sell at limits would have hit, that would have opened up a slot.
Yep.
And if then one of the buys could have hit if it happened after that, right? So,
Yeah, yeah, that's the idea. So, I don't know in what order these things might
right.
fill. So if, like you said, if the market opened and one of these six happened to sell, then yeah, it would have opened up one of the slots. And then if this buy would have happened afterward, it would have then been able to take that.
But only if it would have happened afterwards. If Meta is getting sold, it wouldn't then say, okay, I pick one of these two, which actually would have been executed. Is that right?
Yeah, so one of the six open positions, one of these cells would have had to fill, and then the account would have only had five open positions. So then after that fact, one of these two, if if it would have filled after that, then it would have been able to get filled
Hmm.
without this error.
Hmm.
So that's how you can use the enforce max open position in the strategy monitor to get a bit more control over these kind of situations that would be difficult otherwise.
I was just going to say with market orders, it's a lot easier because you can, you knew that you already had six filled, and if you had two buys, then that's all the slots are taken. So that to match the strategy, to match the back test, you just wouldn't enter any of the orders. But the limit, since you don't know if it's going to hit, it's a different story. So yeah,
Yep.
good demonstration.
So yeah, I wanted to show next the meta strategy itself. So let's run that and take a look here at how we're doing overall. Creeping into a little bit of drawdown here, but that's the name of the game. Now let's take a look at our profit curves, and we see here our deterministic knife juggler, the one that we talked about a couple weeks ago, turning down a little bit, so we expect it to have some drawdown coming up. Uh, in second place, we have the T triple X, and then the glitch indicators no hold, and then here this brown line is the beloved 1% a week strategy. So that's something that we offered in WealthLab for, let's see, when did we publish that? It was published in
Two and a
May
half
of
years ago,
2022. So yeah, it's been
almost three
several
years.
years now. I'm going to run a revision of this that I just wrote that I'm going to put on the Patreon. So let's give this a run. It doesn't change the results, but it changes internally how the code is structure. Okay, so we ran the 1%. Here's our latest equity curve. I guess we should switch that to log scale to get a better view. So the 1% is currently sitting at new equity highs. So it had a bit of a rough 2024, I think. Let's look at the monthly
Okay.
returns visualizer. So yeah, it had a losing 2024, but it's coming back in 2025, and you could see how well it did in the previous years, beating the market in one, two, three, four, five, in the past 5 years. So overall, pretty strong strategy. And let's take a look at some of the recent trades here. So this exit just happened yesterday. So that's a 1% exit. And the previous week had a 4.5% gain, 4.07, 3.82. So let's see, one, two, three, four, five, six. So we've had 7 consecutive winners on that, and then the loss here of 7.5%. So yeah, it's had a really good run, our 1% a week strategy. And yeah, Volker, I know you were talking with the Wealth Lab member Guy Fleury, who actually didn't he write a book about this strategy?
Yeah, I think he writes articles, and I think the one book is all about the 1%. And I had an interview with him. I'm going to publish it soon. And his name is Guy.
Oh,
Guy.
okay.
Yeah, because that was my first question in the interview. How do you pronounce your name? So it's Guy Fleury, I think. Guy, oh, I know for sure. And yeah, he's from Canada. He's in Quebec, which is, I think, the French
Hmm.
Canadian part. And yeah, he is all about. I mean, he got tons of analysis, and he had some slight changes to the strategy, but he keeps it as it is. He is all about how he thinks it's perfect. The stop is not, or the exit after on Friday is not optimized. The stop of the that break even stop is not really optimized. So he likes that strategy all over. So
Hmm.
yeah, and he has a couple. I think he has a couple of variations, and he has one that he thinks is doing even better. But I mean, I haven't tested it. You can look at it, Dion,
So
if
is
you
he
want
is
to.
he publishing those freely?
He's publishing them. Yeah, he's publishing them. He wants everyone to be happy and make money. And yeah, so
So yeah, you
he
should,
publishes them.
yeah, send me over the one that he kind of thinks is the best. We should take a look and analyze it and decide, do we agree? Do we want to replace this 1% with his revision?
Yeah, I think even Robert, you have a variation of it, right? You um,
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, mine is to trade the futures intraday, and I do a lot of different stuff with it. It's roughly based on the 1% stock
mm.
strategy, but no, we don't want to talk about that one.
Okay, but
Very
I think
confusing.
that the one thing that I even talked to him about was that if you see your strategy, Dion, and you can say, "Yep, that's good, I like it," and then but maybe you want to adjust it to your personal style, but maybe and some people might just say, "Hey, I don't care, my personal style is exactly this strategy." So, everyone finds something different good. So, and he found a couple of variations of it, and he explains why he thinks his variation is better. But
Hmm.
hey,
Yeah, I mean, he does produce a lot of interesting content. So let's add a link to his blog in the comments here. And I think actually we linked to it. Let me open up the Wealth Lab website here for a sec. So, okay, yeah, let's take a look at our blog page here. And I think we have a link. Yeah, so this is a link to his work on the 1% strategy, Alpha Power Trading. So, yeah, you guys can take a look at that. He produces some really good stuff, and we're going to do some analysis of his revisions and kind of see what we think, right?
Yeah, good idea.
All right. And so, what did I change here in this version that I'll be publishing to the Patreon? Well, I changed the architecture of the strategy. So, the original 1% is using a method called execute session open. And that works by replacing the standard execute method in the WealthLab strategy, which gets called on every bar. Uh, it'll call execute, so you can execute your trading logic on that bar. So execute session open is a variation of that that also passes the open price of the following market session. So you can take an action based on the next day's open price. So that's something we programmed in, quite a while back. But the downside is that if the session open isn't available, that execute session open isn't called. So you won't get signals for, say you entered the position in 1%, and then the following day you're running the strategy, unless you're calling it after the market is open and you can get that session open, you won't get your exit signal. So what I did is instead of using that execute session open, I used our indicator next session open, which is available in our Power Pack extension. So you'll need to get our Power Pack if you want to use this revision. So our Power Pack has a number of indicators, and one of them is the next session open indicator. So let me drag that onto a clean chart here. And let's plot it as dots. So here you can see the blue dots are plotted where the next bar's open is. So you can see this little blue dot up here corresponds to the open price of the following bar. So by using the next session open indicator, we can still get our exit signals and even our entry signals. So the 1% captures the opening price on the first day of the week, and it uses that open price for the following days of the week if it hasn't entered a position. So we don't actually need the next session open on any days besides basically the last trading day of the week, because on the last trading day of the week it's going to look ahead to the following bar. So only on one day of the week do we actually need that session open. So by using the next session open indicator instead of the execute session open, then we can nicely get our signals for open positions and for buys that just haven't occurred yet during that week. So that's the revision I did. That'll be in the Patreon, and I think it makes it a lot easier to trade with.
Yep. By the way, the interesting thing, it's easy to see in a back test that, those blue dots are leading the open, but look at the very last bar. The last bar is actually showing you, I mean, we're recording this during the market hours, so the last bar is actually showing you what the open is on the next bar, which is today,
Yep.
but yeah.
Anything else you guys want to talk about for this week's episode?
No, but next Tuesday, I'm going to do a webinar on going from back testing to trading. So it's a lot like what we're doing here, but hope we'll try to condense a few ideas into just a few sessions so that you don't have to look for the information. But we'll cover a lot of the same things that we're talking about here, like the practicality of entering market orders and limits, and how to trade multiple positions and limit your orders and things like that, so we've got a few webinar sessions coming up. The next one's next Tuesday.
So that's this one here on our homepage, right? The
Yep.
turning your backtest strategies into profitable auto trading bots. That'll be interesting. All right, well,
So-
let's call it there then. And we got some good things lined up. So we'll see everyone there, and thanks for watching.
Thank you.
All right.
Great, cheers.
Bye, everyone.